Imagine you're standing in a supermarket aisle, staring at two boxes of cereal. One is your usual brand. The other is a new one, same price, but the box is 30% bigger. You pick up the bigger box. You feel smart. You feel rational. You feel like you just beat the system. Now here's the uncomfortable truth: you didn't make a choice. Your brain made it for you, using a rule you didn't even know existed. And that same rule, it's the reason you stayed in a bad relationship too long. The reason you kept watching a movie you hated. The reason you refused to sell a stock that was crashing. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you will never trust your own decisions the same way again. Every single day, you make roughly 35,000 decisions. You decide what to eat, what to wear, what to say, which email to answer first, whether to speak up in a meeting or stay silent. If you had to think through every single one of those decisions carefully, weighing pros and cons, analyzing data, predicting outcomes, your brain would shut down by breakfast. So instead, it cheats. Your brain uses something called heuristics, mental shortcuts that let you make fast decisions without using much energy. And most of the time, these shortcuts work beautifully. Without them, you wouldn't be able to function. But here's where it gets fascinating. Those same shortcuts, the ones that save you time and energy, also create predictable errors in your thinking. Psychologists call these errors cognitive biases, and they are not random. They are systematic. They are measurable. And they are the hidden reason behind nearly every bad decision you have ever made. In 1979, two psychologists, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, published a paper that would eventually win a Nobel Prize. Their discovery was simple but devastating: human beings are not rational. More specifically, they found that the pain of losing something is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the same thing. They called this loss aversion. Here's what that looks like in real life. Imagine I offer you a coin flip. Heads, you win $100. Tails, you lose $100. Mathematically, this is a fair bet. Your expected value is exactly zero. But most people refuse it. Because losing $100 feels far worse than winning $100 feels good. Now let's bring this into the present. Loss aversion is why you hold on to clothes you never wear, because throwing them away feels like admitting you wasted money. It's why you stay in a job you don't like, because leaving feels like losing something, even if what you're losing is your unhappiness. It's why investors sell winning stocks too early and hold losing ones too long. Your brain is not trying to maximize your gains. It is trying to minimize your losses. And those are two completely different goals. Now here's a bias that's even sneakier. It's called the sunk cost fallacy, and it might be the most expensive mistake you make on a regular basis. A sunk cost is any time, money, or effort you've already spent that you cannot get back. The rational thing to do is ignore it. It's gone. It should not affect your future decisions. But your brain refuses to let it go. Here's a famous experiment. Researchers asked people to imagine they had paid for tickets to a ski trip, then, separately, a friend invited them to a better ski trip on the same weekend, for free. The people who had already paid for their tickets overwhelmingly chose the worst trip. Why? Because not going felt like wasting money. But the money was already gone. Choosing the worst trip didn't bring it back. It just made their weekend worse. You've done this. You finished a terrible movie because you'd already watched 45 minutes. You ate food you weren't hungry for because you'd paid for it. You stayed in a relationship for an extra year because of the time you'd already invested. You are not weak. You are not foolish. You are a human being whose brain is wired to protect past investments, even when protecting them costs you more than letting them go ever would. Imagine you believe that waking up early is the secret to success. What happens when you scroll through social media? Your brain automatically notices and remembers every post about a CEO who wakes up at 4 a.m. You skim past the articles about successful people who work late at night. You don't even realize you're doing it. This is confirmation bias, the tendency to search for, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms what you already believe. You are not seeking truth. You are seeking evidence that you were right all along. And here's where it gets dangerous. Confirmation bias doesn't just affect what you notice. It affects how you interpret ambiguous information. Two people with opposite beliefs can read the same news article and both come away convinced the article supports their view. In one famous study, researchers showed people with strong opinions on the death penalty two studies, one supporting its deterrent effect, one opposing it. Both groups rated the study that confirmed their existing belief as more convincing and better conducted. They then became even more extreme in their original positions. The more intelligent you are, the better you are at constructing arguments that defend your existing beliefs. Intelligence doesn't protect you from confirmation bias. It makes you better at rationalizing it. Let me give you a quick test. Don't think too hard, just answer. Is the population of Turkey more or less than 150 million people? Now, what is your best guess for the actual population of Turkey? If you're like most people, your guess is influenced by that number I gave you, 150 million. Even though you knew it was arbitrary. Even though you knew I pulled it out of thin air. This is the anchoring effect. The first piece of information you receive becomes a reference point, an anchor, that influences every judgment that follows. This is why stores show you the original price crossed out next to the sale price. The original price is the anchor. It makes the sale price feel like a bargain. It's why negotiations start with an aggressive opening offer. That first number anchors the entire conversation. And it's why first impressions matter so much. Once an anchor is set, adjusting away from it takes enormous mental effort your brain would rather not spend. So the next time someone gives you a number, in a negotiation, in a store, in a news headline, ask yourself, is this information, or is this an anchor? Now here's the practical part. Knowing these biases exist is not enough. Research shows that simply being aware of cognitive biases does very little to reduce their influence on your decisions. But there are a few strategies that actually work. First, slow down. Biases thrive on speed. When you're making an important decision, force yourself to wait. Sleep on it. Give your slower, more deliberate thinking system time to catch up. Second, seek disconfirmation. Instead of asking yourself, "Why am I right?" ask, "What would prove me wrong?" Actively look for evidence against your position. It is uncomfortable. It is also the single most effective way to counteract confirmation bias. Third, use a premortem. Before making a big decision, imagine it's 1 year in the future and the decision turned out badly. Now write down the story of what went wrong. This simple exercise forces your brain to consider scenarios it would otherwise ignore. You will never eliminate cognitive biases. They are built into the architecture of your mind. But you can learn to recognize their fingerprints on your thinking. And sometimes, just sometimes, that recognition is enough to make a better choice. The real question isn't whether you'll fall for these biases today. You will. The real question is whether you'll catch yourself doing it. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, subscribe to StoryMind English, because we explore one truth about the human mind every single week, in clear, simple English, for curious minds everywhere in the world. Let me know in the comments, what's the one decision you look back on and now realize, a cognitive bias was probably running the show? I'll see you in the next one.